a written recommendation from the planning board that is required before we take any action. The planning board is meeting June 5th, 2017. So this public hearing will be continued to the following Monday after that June 5th, which would be June 12th, 2017 at 7 o'clock p.m. So first, are there any members of the public who would like to address the council on this particular petition? Second call, are there any members of the public who would like to address the council? Oh. If you could just identify yourself, your name and address, please.
Will do. I'm Kelly Wilbur. I live at 98 Priest Street in Leominster. I was born and raised here in Leominster and recall the city's proud history. From Johnny Appleseed to the plastics industry, we are known as pioneers. Legal recreational marijuana represents another groundbreaking opportunity for Leominster to show that it values leadership as well as revenue. It is an opportunity for Leominster businesses to be a part of an industry that will undoubtedly expand beyond our state and throughout the country as this outdated prohibition continues to be lifted. At this point, I believe that any moratorium here serves only to give the advantage to other cities and states to develop this young industry. I would like to see the City Council keep the pioneer spirit in mind as it votes for the moratorium in question, against it. I would like to add that I recognize the importance of getting the zoning right, and adequate time has been afforded to you by the state. I trust that if you put your minds to it, you can craft some excellent zoning standards to support the young industry as well as our city. Liquor store zoning offers you a template to be adapted as needed, and that's about all. So thank you for your time, and I hope you'll keep that in mind.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to address the city council relative?
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Ricci, and I live at 581 Pleasant Street. And you'll have to excuse my voice. I think I'm getting a cold. So today I just wanted to talk about the financials of what we could be seeing based on what Colorado has seen. In the first 2 months that Colorado legalized recreational marijuana, they tax revenue that was collected was $6.17 million. It's in 2 months. And the amount of marijuana tax revenue that Colorado devoted to their public school system in 2014 was $40 million. That's something we could definitely use here. They also created jobs, 7,500 to 10,000 jobs. Again, this is all 2014. In 2015, their sales reached nearly $1 billion. And the portion of taxes that they collected from that $1 billion was $135 million. And more than $35 million had been earmarked for the education department, again. I mean, this is something that we need here. And I just took the liberty, because Colorado's a big state, so I wanted to see in comparison Colorado to Massachusetts. And I thought we'd have a larger population, and we actually do. Colorado in 2016 was 5 million. We were almost 7 million. So more people, more money. We could definitely see these kind of numbers here. Also, the Drug Policy Alliance report found that teen marijuana usage was unchanged. Marijuana arrests went down, and marijuana legalization appears to have little impact on traffic fatalities. In fact, nobody has ever overdosed on marijuana. So it's just, I don't know, for me it's kind of a no-brainer. Also 58%, the most recent Gallup poll, 58% of the entire country is for recreational marijuana. So we probably will be seeing this eventually, if we have to wait another 10 years or so. That's all I wanted to say tonight. If you wanted to see the references, since I don't have time, you can contact me later, and I'll be happy to send those over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ricci. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Second time, does anyone else wish to address the council relative to petition 3917? Third and final time, does anyone wish to address the council relative to petition 3917? Okay, I think there's a lot to be said on this issue. As I said earlier, we're going to have to continue this public hearing to June 12th at 7 o'clock. As the chairman, I'm going to reserve my comments until that time, but I don't know if anyone else on legal affairs wishes to say anything at this point. Council Frida?
No, I'm going to reserve most of my comments, but I think what is important to note is that this is not a ban that we're talking about, it's a moratorium, which is very, very different. So there seems to be a thought process out there that this is a ban, and that is not the case. So I just think that needs to be made very clear.
Okay. Council Marchand?
I'm all set with the continuation.
Okay. Council Bedanza?
Yeah, I'm good with the continuation. I just would offer that, it was interesting to read in one of the past MMA magazines, the lead story was covered an event where Margaret Hurley, who's an assistant attorney general from Massachusetts, spoke about these issues created by the ballot initiative last fall. And that her recommendation was for communities to begin the process of zoning now. It's relatively complex zoning, there's a lot to it. And I just thought that was a great article, and I recommend all the councils who had a chance to read it, to take a look at it, because I think it is good advice. Better to use we all know that we can't ultimately, that until the legislature gets its act together and comes up with the regulatory framework to institute this, there's nothing that we can do to change that process, but we can certainly be ready for that process by allowing for a period of good reflection with public input. And I just, like I said, recommend that everybody take a look at that article in the meantime.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Zephyr, anything?
No, I'm fine at this point.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any of the remaining councilors have any comments at this time? Councilor Frida?
I just wanted to add too that since this was submitted, there are now 50 approved moratoriums in place, 12 bans in communities, and 3 attempted bans that failed. And there's 120 cities and towns right now considering some type of action, anything from forming a committee to putting it on the ballot to doing a moratorium or a ban.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. President, having said that, we're going to close the public hearing at this point and continue it again to June 12th, 2017 at 7 o'clock p.m.
Continuing it,
Just
not closing
continue it.
Right.
Continuing it. We're not closing it, continuing.
Well, we're ending it tonight and then continuing it to June 12th,
Suspend.
2017.
Ending tonight's meeting.
Suspended.
Suspended.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. opinions expressed by the speaker, please limit your comments to 2 minutes or less. At this point, there is nobody that has signed up to speak, so I will ask, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? Once again, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? And for the third and final time, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I declare the public forum closed. That was easy.
7:20 interview for two appointee nominees for the Library Board of Trustees, Carrie Noseworthy and Eladia Romero. And Ms. Noseworthy and Ms. Romero could come up here. We'll ask Ms. Shelton if she'd like to join us, and perhaps the other trustees that are in the audience would like to join us as well.
Come on, Lawrence. Oh, that's right. I figured these all on.
Make sure your microphone's on, ladies. Okay, all cozy?
I feel like Janet Yates today.
Yeah, this is called Everybody in the Pool. Okay, so we're going to have our interview tonight for our two nominees, Ms. Noseworthy and Ms. Romero.
Romero,
Okay. And by way of introduction, I'm Gail Feckley, and I am the chairwoman of Ways and Means. And the committee also consists of Councilor Marchand and Councilor Lanciani. So what we want to do tonight is just introduce you to the public and to those that are here in the chambers, and ask you a few questions, let you introduce yourself first, tell us a little bit about your background, and basically what you feel as though you can contribute to the Board of Trustees. And just for the record, I will read the description of the Board of Trustees that's on the Leominster City website. The Leominster Public Library Board of Trustees is a 6-member board appointed by the mayor and subject to confirmation of the City Council. 2 trustees are appointed annually to serve 3-year terms. The board organizes in February of each year by choosing from its own membership a chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. The board oversees the management and finances of the library and is the policy-making authority for the library. So it's a very important position, you know, one that can't be held lightly, and that's why we want to make sure that you're the right people for the job. So who wants to start? A little bit about your background and what you feel you could contribute.
Sure. Well, I guess I'm
Okay.
here, so, let's see. I'm pressing on and.
I think it's on.
I think you just.
Yeah, it sounds like it's
It
on.
sounds like it's
Yeah,
on.
it's on. Yep.
Excellent. Yes, so my name is Carrie Noseworthy. Tonight with me are my husband Graham and my boys Justin and Connor. I reside at 95 Smith Street in Leominster. We've been here around 10 years. I recently started with the Federation for Children with Special Needs, and my role there is to help families access mass health as a secondary insurance, to help their children with complex medical and mental health needs access whatever they need in the medical world or the mental health world. Prior to that, I was a LEN Fellow for a program, so it stands for the Leadership Education for Neurodevelopmental Disabilities with the Shriver Center in Suffolk University. And as part of that, I just finished up my Master's in Public Administration with Suffolk University. So I was saying I spent a lot of time at the library the past year and a half.
Say so.
Working on my papers. And prior to that, I was a family partner for CBHI, which is the Children's Behavioral Health Initiative, with Community Health Link over at the Lipton Center. And I think that I have a lot to bring to the board because to me, and I wrote it down here, you know, I love the quote by Thomas Jefferson, the cornerstone of democracy rests on the foundation of an educated electorate. And I really think, especially during these times and the climate that we're going through, that education is just so important. And we are just so lucky to have the library that we have in our city, and a library that's not open, you know, 1 or 2 days a week. There is so much civic access that we provide for all of our residents and the residents in the surrounding cities and towns, and I'd like to work really hard to help promote, you know, growth and sustainability with the library, while also bringing my background in social services. You know, I was sort of explaining to Susan, you know, As a family partner, when families couldn't access the internet and they were looking for jobs, or homeless families, come to the library and utilize their services, or whether it's a family utilizing, passes to the museum, or someone like myself that was utilizing some quiet space to do their work. I just think it has something for everyone, and again, we're just so lucky to have it, and I just want to make sure as budgets are taken down and things are changing as we move forward, that we find ways to, like I said, have growth and sustainability, and to continue to bring the great services that we can to Leominster citizens and people in the surrounding cities and counties.
Well, certainly our library, over the years has become a lot more than just going in and browsing the stacks and taking a couple of books out. It's become really a community center almost. Anytime I'm there, I see the people coming and going. It's amazing, what they're doing. Not just, like I said, taking the books out, but also meeting, greeting, talking, learning, asking questions, getting answers. With your background, I can also see you being kind of a link to ideas for special needs, maybe, children and adults in the community, certain with the increase in, unfortunate increase in autism and spectrum disorders. Lately, I can see that you could be of a lot of assistance, with those kind of programs.
Absolutely, and actually a few years ago, I started the Lego Club, which still runs, because
Yeah,
I
I've
was
heard of it.
trying to find something for my children to do, and for kids that just wanted to engage in something and weren't necessarily going to go out and do a sport. And I knew that a lot of the surrounding communities had Lego programs that worked out really great, and yeah, it still runs to this day, so my boys help me, gather all the Legos, take donations, clean them, put it all together,
great.
and I help them run it a little bit, and then it sort of kind of became its own program. So, yes, whatever I can bring, and like I said, just helping people utilize it with the mental health needs and homelessness and things like that, making sure that we're utilizing the library, but making sure we're sort of in control of, how things are moving forward.
Absolutely. Great. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Eladia, would you like to talk about your background and how you feel you could contribute to our wonderful library?
Sure. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Eladia Romero, and I am currently the regional manager for Congressman Jim McGovern, and I've been there for approximately 4 years. Prior to that, I was a district representative for Congressman John Olver in his Fitchburg district office. And so 16 years of experience pretty much working in the community with various segments of the population. I've served on numerous boards, volunteered in many capacities. And so one of the things, obviously, that I enjoy the most with the work that I do is really being able to serve and work with those that are disenfranchised, those folks who really are vulnerable, those folks that really need access to services, and those folks that don't know how to navigate the system, pretty much. And so another piece as well is really encouraging collaboration amongst various organizations in our community. There are a lot of organizations that do a lot of great work. Sometimes it overlaps, and so just kind of bringing them together and really encouraging that collaboration. So over the 16 years that I've worked in the world of politics, I've also had the opportunity to work with the folks at the Leominster Public Library. I taught citizenship classes there for a period of time, and it was great. I had a great experience there and worked very closely with the staff. And I became familiar with the programming that they offered, the clients that they served, and realized, and at that point, Fitchburg was going through some difficult times. So a lot of the residents from Fitchburg were utilizing the library, and they were treated just the same way that the residents of Leominster were treated. So the library really, to me, was always a welcoming place, a place where folks could, as young as, I guess, even babies at this point, all the way up to seniors are able to access some type of programming, some type of, or service or, literature, things of that sort. And I was really, really impressed by the services that they provide. So recently I took part in a strategic planning committee, And there was a lot of discussion that took place. Actually, it was pretty enriching. One of the conversations that we had really kind of spoke to the immigrant population that we have here in the city, and how to be more welcoming, how to engage them, how to provide programming that might be of interest to some of those folks, and really just kind of working on making them also feel a part of the community and utilizing the library more than they currently do. So in that sense, I was really, when I received the nomination, I was really honored, but also just to be able to work with the staff and also work with the other members to support them in those initiatives and other initiatives that were part of the strategic planning. I wasn't just the only piece, but other ideas, other things that came across during that planning process. And also just to continue to help in terms of programming, any ways that I can help in terms of getting the word out about programming that they offer, or even ideas, suggestions about bringing programming into the library. I would love to be a part of that. So I really just find that the library, again, is just very central. It's core to our city. It provides valuable services, vital services, and just look forward to being a part of the committee, of the board.
Councilor
you.
Feckley,
Yes.
if I may, I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm
Already
already
passed.
running a minute or two late. By law, I have to start the meeting at 7:30, so I'm going to do that really quick, and then we'll take a recess and we'll go back into the interview. Okay, so at this time, the regular meeting of the City Council for May 8th, 2017 will now come to order. Will you all please stand for a salute to the flag? I will now take a roll call of the honorable members of the City Council, beginning with Councilor Frida,
Present.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Present.
Councilor Feckley,
Present.
Councilor Bedanza,
Present.
Councilor Lanciani,
Present.
Councilor Marchian.
Present.
And I am present. All 8 members are present this evening. Does the chairwoman of records, the vice president, have any records to approve this evening?
I do, Mr. President. I have the minutes of the City Council meetings of March 27th, April 10th, and April 24th, 2017. I find them to be in order and ask that they be placed on record.
Okay, so the vice president finds the March 27th, April 10th, and April 24th minutes of the city council to be in order and is asking that they're placed on file. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Seeing none, although the minutes for those 3 meetings will be placed on file. At this time, I'll ask for a motion
Motion
for
for
a
recess.
recess and a second. All those in favor? Okay, the council now stands in recess. Madam Chairwoman, you can continue with the interviews.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Marrero, I agree with you that the library is a very, intrinsic part of the community, and it seems that your experience, with working with the community, really delving into the community through your political, connections, could really be very useful, because you've seen what seems like an unending, process that could happen with the library, services that just could go on and on and on.
Right.
So I think that would be, a very good thing for the library. So,
Right, yeah.
and at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Councilor Marchand, see if he has any questions for either one of you.
Thank you, thank you. First of all, I had the opportunity to serve with Aladi on that committee. We reviewed with the direction and the vision of the library, not really having a handle on the political part of it or the operation. Susan Shelton was not involved with that. There was a consultant that came in, so, she found out afterwards some of the things that happened during the meeting. Coco was on there, wasn't she? Councilor Zephyr, Shalfo Zephyr's daughter was on that as well. It was quite an experience, and what Aladia brought to the table was kind of unique, because you had to see it and feel it from her seat. And she shared that with us, her feelings about some of the things that we need to do as a community to initiate dealing with and servicing all the people collectively, not just individuals or different gender, age classifications, but cross-generational, cross-cultural as well. That was really a great lesson I learned from you during that whole experience. When I listened to Carrie speaking this morning, I could just think of A couple of weeks ago, I was in the library. I popped in on a Saturday, and there was a gentleman that was in there that I know is a victim of post-traumatic stress disorder in the military. And, you know, when you brought up the fact that you have, you know, some training in mental health issues and also social work, what a great piece you bring to the table to share with the board, or to supplement the existing efforts in order to be able to deal with those kinds of issues, and everything in the entire entourage of social issues and social work that you actually do. So, you know, I'm very excited that you're a part of this as well. We're very fortunate, we're very blessed that the two of you are willing to step up and do this, and I'm sure that the board of directors, along with the director, are very, very pleased and happy and content that you're gonna bring such talent to the table, so thank you for serving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Anciani?
Thank you. Carrie, while I don't know you personally, and I may have seen you at the library, but if I did, I don't recognize you. But a couple of things that impressed me very much this evening with your becoming a trustee at the library is the fact that you brought your children and your husband with you to this meeting. And my feelings have always been when a person has respect for his family, he or she is going to do the best that they could possibly do. And I congratulate you for wanting to do that. Eladia is a little different. I met Eladia.
You don't want my 3-year-old son here.
You have a pass.
I met Eladia.
Yes.
I met Eladia a few years ago when she came here to Leominster with Mr. McGovern and when she worked for John Olver. She has been a pleasure to work with. I don't care when you go to see her and you have any problems, she'll get some answers for you. And I think that's great that both of you want to take the time and invest some time with the library, and the city's very fortunate to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other councilors have any questions or comments? Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming down. Thank you, Susan Shelton, for coming. Carol Millette, one of our long-serving trustees, and Lawrence, another trustee. And thank you both, you know, for agreeing to serve on the Board of Trustees. We have a lot of big changes coming to the library. And, you know, the two trustees that you are replacing both have really big shoes to fill. You know, Gil Tremblay was a longtime board servant, just wonderful, wonderful person, taught in the Leominster Public School System. And unfortunately, you know, he passed away, and, you know, we're welcoming Carrie onto the board. And then, you know, Nancy Hicks, another wonderful trustee who served on the board for years, many, many years, you know, is turning over, you know, her position on the board to Eladia. So, you know, we're really welcoming the both of you. I'm really excited about working with you both. We have a great board. We have a great organization. The library is one of the best places on earth as far as I'm concerned. So, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Danza.
Yes, in the interest of full disclosure, I am the current chairman of the Board of Trustees of the library and participated in your nomination process, both of you. And like Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, who I serve with on the Board of Trustees, I'm excited. I think both of you present wonderful opportunities for the future of the library. And I think you both hit on it. I mean, the access for people to better themselves, for education and self-improvement is critical to our democracy, to our community. And there's no local institution that is perhaps more important than the local library, especially for people who are at post-secondary school, but for students as well. And I think you both brought in skill sets that are really great. And it's interesting that we just went through the planning process, strategic planning process, some of the topics in terms of bringing better access, bringing the wonder that is the library to more people can only make us a stronger community. And I think both of you will do a wonderful job in that. And as Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr said, we're going through some transitions. Some of our trustees are leaving, and we got some new guys coming on board, ladies coming on board. And we're going to lose our our director on the 28th of July. One of the most capable people I've ever worked with in any endeavor. And she's going to be sorely missed, and I'm glad that we have some energetic people coming on board to help us through this transitional process. And thank you very much for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to serving with you.
Fantastic, thank you. Any other counselors? Okay, ladies, well, I don't think you could have had better testimonials than most of the Board of Trustees. I find both of you to be excellent candidates, and, you know, I always say it, we are so lucky that we have volunteers that are willing to come and help, and as Councilor Marchand said, I can see both of you supplementing, you know, what's going on at the library right now, but also adding, you know, to some of the ideas, services, programs. Just like I said, it's just a constant carousel of things that the library can provide for the city. And you'll also both, although you've come in and kind of late in the process of choosing a new library director, unfortunately, again, we'll be losing Ms. Shelton, you will both have vote in the decision for the final, choice. So that's very important. So, you know, we take these decisions very seriously. But after what I've heard tonight, and like I said, all the wonderful things I've heard about both of you, I've been more than pleased to bring your names forward for nomination tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be asking the president to move up the nomination, so you can stay for the meeting if you want, or, you know, once we vote, you can enjoy yourself.
Sure.
All right?
All right.
All right,
Thank you
thank
very
you for
much.
coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
The council will now stand back in session, and we will move right into communications, beginning with C-74, Madam Clerk.
Considering acquiring by eminent domain permanent and temporary easement.
Oh, thank you. Turn this on.
Microphone.
Keeps going.
Okay, let's try this again. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, consider acquiring by eminent domain permanent and temporary easements on certain properties located on or near North Street in connection with the reconstruction on North Street. The properties affected by the taken are set forth more particularly in Schedule A and shown on a plan entitled Plan of Road in the City of Leominster, Mass., Worcester County, dated April 18th, 2017, prepared by VHB.
And C-74 will be referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, with a referral to Kopelman and Page, the Assessor's Office, and the Mayor's Office.
Okay, C-74 has been given regular course with a referral to Copeland and Page, the Assessor's Office, as well as the Mayor's Office. Moving on to C-75, we have an emergency preamble.
Okay, emergency preamble. Relative to the appropriation of $5,000 to the municipal building capital outlay expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion on, not the merits of the the preamble, but about the emergency aspect of it? No? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting C-75 as emergency preamble, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-75 has been accepted as emergency preamble and will be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a letter from the building inspector dated April 24, 2017, addressed to Mayor Mazzarella. I respectfully request that $5,000 be made into the municipal capital outlay account 192500000. These funds are needed to pay for the repairs to the exterior wall that collapsed at City Hall. If you have any questions or need further information, please feel free to contact this office. Sincerely, Peter Nile. Most of us are aware that a portion of the retaining wall that retains the City Hall parking lot failed just before that date on April 24th and needed to be replaced. The amount is necessary in order to fund the replacement. Would be my position to approve C-75 75, and I'll check with my committee members.
No, I support that.
I concur.
The unanimous recommendation, Mr. President, is to grant C-75.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-75. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-75, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed? By a vote of 8-0, C-75 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $5,000 be appropriated to the municipal building capital outlay expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed? By a vote of 8-0, C-75 has been adopted. C-76.
C-76, relative to the appropriation of $200,000 to the Fire Department overtime account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
And C-76 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President, first time on the agenda, regular course, please.
C-76 has been given regular course. C-77.
C-77, relative to the appropriation of $100,000 to the Police Department overtime account, same to be transferred from the Police Department salary and wages account.
C-77 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course, please.
C-77 has been given regular course. C-78.
C-78, relative to the appropriation of $70,000 to the Police Department expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
C-78 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President, again, first time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-78 has been given regular course. C-79.
C-79, relative to the appropriation of $21,486 to the Police Capital Outlay Expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
C-79 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Again, first time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-79 has been given regular course. C-80.
C-80, we have a letter here from the mayor asking us to withdraw this communication, as it's already on the agenda from a prior week.
As a duplicate, I guess we would
Yeah.
need a vote to allow it to be withdrawn without prejudice.
We need a
That's
vote?
his request.
No, you don't, we just have a...
No
No,
votes required?
we're just gonna ignore it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, C-81.
C-81, relative to the appropriation of $130,000 to the debt service principal expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
And C-81 will be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course, please.
And C-81 has been given regular course. Moving on to items under petitions, 68-17.
6817, Nellie Molina, renew the secondhand dealer's license for J&J Consignment located at 232 Central Street.
Okay, 68-17 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, first time on the agenda, regular course with referrals to the Police Department and the Treasurer and Collector.
Okay, 68-17 is given regular course with a referral to the Police Department and the Treasurer Collector. 69-17.
6917, Michael J. King, grant an easement for an existing driveway for the property located at 767 Willard Street.
And 69-17 is referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you. First time on the calendar, regular course with a referral to Copeland and Page, the Department of Public Works, the Traffic Department of the Police Department, and the Fire Department.
Okay. 69-17 has been given regular course with a referral to Copeland and Page, the DPW, the Traffic Department of the Police Department, as well as the Fire Department. Moving on
Yes.
to 70-17.
7017, interim chief Michael Goldman, add a section 35-21.1 to the city ordinances prohibiting the sale or offering of vehicles, food, beverage, goods, wares, or merchandise on city property, excluding city events in which the chief of police has authorized the closing of roads or parking lots.
And 70-17 is referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also, first time on the calendar, regular course with a referral to Copeland and Page, the Mayor's Office, the Economic Development Coordinator, and the Department of Public Works.
Okay, 70-17 has been given regular course with a referral to the DPW.
Mr. President,
Yes.
can we also do Board of Health? It involves food.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Board of Health as well.
Okay. So 70-17 will be given regular course with a referral to the mayor's office, the DPW, the Board of Health, and
Economic Development.
Economic Development Coordinator.
I had Copeland.
And Copeland and
also.
Page as well.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on to 71-17.
7117, National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated, 8th Street. Install one jointly owned pole on 8th Street, beginning at a point approximately 180 feet south of the center line of the intersection of Water Street and 8th Street.
Okay, and 71-17 is referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course. We have to establish a hearing date on May 22nd, 6:35.
Okay, so 71-17 will be given regular course, and we will be establishing a hearing for May 22nd, 2017 at 6:35 PM. All those in favor of establishing that hearing, please signify in usual manner. Those opposed, I'll let the record reflect that I will be abstaining from this petition because it involves my employer, so it will be a vote of 7-0 to establish that hearing. Moving on to 72-17.
7217, National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated, Lanity's Lane. Install one jointly owned pole on Lanity's Lane, beginning at a point approximately 360 feet north of the center line of the intersection of Hamilton Street and Lanity's Lane.
Okay, 72-17 is also referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Yes, again, regular course, and establish a hearing date for May 22nd at 6:40 PM.
Okay, so 72-17 has been given regular course, and we will establish a hearing of May 22nd, 2017 at 6:40 PM. All those in favor of establishing that hearing, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, and likewise, I will be abstaining from this one as well, so by a vote of 7-0, 72-17 has been given regular course, and the hearing has been established. Moving on to 73-17.
7317, Kenneth R. Hanson and all, accept Dugan Drive as an accepted city street.
Okay, 73-17 is referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course with a referral to DPW, Planning Director and Planning Board, Copeland and Page, and the Mayor's Office.
Okay, so 73-17 has been given regular course with a referral to the DPW, the Planning Director, the Planning Board, Copeland and Page, as well as the Mayor's Office. Moving on to 74-17.
7417, David D. Watts, request a dead-end sign and/or stop sign on end of street for Montrose Streets connecting to Grant Street.
And 74-17 is also referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Again, regular course with referrals to DPW, Planning. And that should take care of it, I think. I think we need to establish, and I understand you're gonna be talking to the gentleman.
Yes.
There's a difference between dead end and stop sign. So if we have to refer a stop sign on legal affairs, do that.
I do believe it is a dead end, but I will double check with the petitioner. I'll be in touch this week. Okay, so 74-17 is given regular course with a referral to the DPW and the Planning Director. Moving on to appointments.
William Connor, Assessor, term to expire April 15th, 2018.
And this appointment will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course, and we will ask Mr. Connor to come down before the council for an interview.
Okay, so this appointment will be given regular course, and we will set up an interview. Moving on to reappointments.
Reappointments. William Mitchell, Chief Assessor, term to expire April 15th, 2020. Robert Fitzpatrick, Board of Appeals, term to expire April 15th, 2020.
Okay, these two reappointments will also be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, both reappointments are first time on the agenda, regular course.
Okay, both of these appointments have been given regular course. Now moving on to matters before the City Council. I have been asked to move to the front of the calendar the two appointments for the Library Board of Trustees. So if there's no objection, we will do that now, and I will refer those to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means, and I will ask her if she is ready to report.
I am ready to report, Mr. President. We had Ms. Carrie Noseworthy and Ms. Eladia Romero here tonight for an interview. Both of these nominees seem to be perfect fits for what the library will be needing in the future. Ms. Noseworthy has a background in special needs and social work. We see that she could bring some good ideas for programs and services for our special needs population. Ms. Romero has seen many instances in the community with her connections through Congressman McGovern, et cetera. She's worked in that world for quite a while, and she's seen what's needed, and I think that she would have the experience and the wheretofore to be able to enact some of these ideas and really contribute to the library. So we're very fortunate to have both of them stepping up at this time. One would be making a transition in the library, a very important transition. So it would be my pleasure to recommend that their nomination be granted. And
Okay.
I will go to my committee.
Council Marchand, you all
concur.
set? Council Lanciani?
I concur.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm or grant the appointments of Carrie Noseworthy and Eladia Romero. Is there any discussion? Council Frida?
I just want to comment on the qualifications of these people. I mean, we're really very lucky. It's an important position, and, you know, what you bring to the table is really something important. And I also think, and it's a credit to the library, we say this all the time, I mean, the board comes in and the trustees come in and director comes in, you know, just for moral support for somebody new and be welcoming. So that's always a credit to you. So just looking forward to the confirmation.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, what we will do is we will do this in a roll call vote to grant, and beginning with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Feckley.
Yay.
Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Lanciani.
Yay.
Councilor Marchian.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. Both Carrie Noseworthy and Eladia Romero have been appointed to the Library Board of Trustees. Congratulations.
Mr. President, Ladia wanted me to point out one thing that happened during the informational meeting.
Okay.
When she pointed to the right to say how they also took care of the senior citizens as well, I wasn't sure if she was pointing to Council Lanciani or Council Bonanza, but she assured me it was Council Bonanza.
Just in general.
Okay.
You're on that side too, I think.
I think so.
Okay, moving on to the other items under Ways and Means. We will move on to C-66. Is the chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report?
I am, Mr. President, and actually I could take C-66, 67, and 68 in block.
Okay, if there's no objections, we will take those three in block.
Okay.
Okay.
C-66, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, exempt Stephanie Florio, a paraprofessional for the Leominster School Department, from the Conflict of Interest Law as provided for in Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, as she will be taking a position as an enrichment program instructor for the Recreation Department. C-67, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, exempt Marianne Pickering, a teacher for the Leominster School Department, from the Conflict of Interest Law as provided for in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, as she will be taking a position as an enrichment program instructor for the Recreation Department. C-68, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, exempt Jeremy Thurber, a special education teacher for the Leominster School Department, from the Conflict of Interest Law as provided for in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, as he will be taking a position as an enrichment program instructor for the Recreation Department. So this is a seasonal thing, Mr. President. We've done this in the past. These were a regular course at the last meeting. And at this point, what I would do is I would recommend that C-68, 67, and 68 66, 67, and 68 be granted, and I will go to my committee.
Okay, Counsel Marchian?
I concur.
Counsel Lanciani?
I concur.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant C-66, C-67, and C-68. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-67, C-68, 66, 67, and 68, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-67 and 68 have all been granted. Moving on to 65-17. Madam Chairwoman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 6517 Joanne Atwood, renew the secondhand dealer's license for the Repair Palace, Inc., located at 100 Commercial Road. These went out for referrals to the police department and the treasurer and collector, and both have come back as positive referrals, indicating that there are no taxes due and that there is no reason the police department has for not renewing this license. So at this point, I would recommend that 6517 be granted, and I will go to my committee.
Okay, Counsel Marchian?
I concur.
Counsel Lanciani?
I concur.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant 65-17. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 65-17, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, 65-17 has been granted. Moving on to items under legal affairs, beginning with C-69. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am. Communication 69, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, adopt Section 110 of Chapter 110 of the Acts of 1993 so that a disabled veteran or surviving spouse will only be required to have 1 year of residency in the state before applying for a property tax exemption. Mr. President, I have two letters to read into the record. One dated April 6, 2017. It's addressed to the mayor's office from William Mitchell, Chief Assessor. Dear Mayor, I am writing in reference to the Department of Veterans Services letter requesting an adoption of the 1 year rule for residency requirements for disabled veterans. To clarify, Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22 to 22F, require that the veteran be domiciled in Massachusetts at least 6 months before entering the service, or have been domiciled in Massachusetts at least 5 years before applying for the exemption. If the municipality chooses to adopt Section 110 of Chapter 110 of the Acts of 1993, the veteran or surviving spouse will only be required to have at least 1 year of residency in the state before applying for the exemption. Should you have any additional information should you need any additional information or have any questions, please feel free to contact me directly. There's a second letter dated March 27, 2017, addressed to the mayor's office from Richard Votor, the Director of Veteran Services. Dear Mr. Mazzarella, the Massachusetts Department of Revenue states that for a disabled veteran to qualify for a property tax exemption, he or she must be a resident of the Commonwealth for 5 years. It also states that a disabled veteran can also qualify for a property tax exemption if he or she has been a resident in the Commonwealth for at least 1 consecutive year before the next fiscal year, but the city or town has to vote to accept this as an option. The Veterans Services Office asked for the approval of the City Council to allow disabled veterans to be able to receive property tax exemptions as a benefit if they have lived in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for 1 consecutive year. If there are any questions or concerns, please contact the office. Respectfully, Richard Votor. I will ask you to poll my committee, but I'm personally in favor of granting Communication 69.
Okay, Counsel Fried?
Yes.
Counsel Marchian?
I agree.
Counsel Shalfo Zephyr?
Yep, absolutely.
And Counsel Bedanta?
I'm in favor.
Okay, so,
Unanimous recommendation, Mr. President, to grant Communication 69.
okay, so it sounds like we have a unanimous recommendation to grant C-69. Is there any discussion? Counsel Marchian?
In my tenure as a city councilor, I would guess that I've been involved with over 1,000 pieces of legislation that have come down here over 20 years. These are the pieces I enjoy voting in support of. They're meaningful, And I'm really glad to see the mayor and also the Veterans Director step up and bring this to our attention. Thank you.
Council Lanciani?
Thank you, Mr. President. As a veteran, I congratulate both the veterans and Mr. Mitchell and the mayor. When I served as veterans agent, this is one of the things that was sadly missed at the times. And I think that if a veteran has been disabled, whether it be a peacetime veteran or a veteran that has served during a conflict, that it's a help to that veteran to be able to pay his taxes. And I again, am very proud to see that they are doing this and congratulate them. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Frida, did I also see your hand?
Yeah. I'm certainly very happy to vote for this and congratulate the mayor for bringing this forward so quickly. This is another part of the ongoing commitment of the Commonwealth to take care of its veterans. It's a fairly new piece of legislation to do the 1 year, and certainly will benefit many veterans. And Leominster has always been one of the first on whether it goes from being a Purple Hat community to supporting many of the programs that have changed over the course of the years. Leominster has always adopted what we needed to adopt to benefit the veteran. So I'm really very happy to have this come before us.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Council Dombrowski?
I just want to note that this applies not just to the veterans, but their surviving spouses as well.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a unanimous recommendation to grant C-69, and we will do this, if all those in favor of granting C-69, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-69 has been granted. Moving on to 66-17.
Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 66-17, Christopher Knuth, Director of the Board of Health. Amend Chapter 2, Article 10, Section 2-42.4, entitled Fee Schedule, to increase certain fees charged by the sealer of weights and measures. And we have a letter from the Director of the Board of Health, Christopher Knuth, stated May 8th, 2017. It's addressed to the City Clerk. Dear Ms. Bouchard, the staff of the Sealer of Weights and Measures has requested to change the ordinance to Article 10, Section 2-42.1 by increasing 3 of the fines charged based on the following information. The amount of time spent on each testing procedure. Often the procedure must be performed more than one time for each test. The capital cost of the measuring equipment has increased over time to bring the fees closer to what other local municipalities are charging. We hope the City Council finds our comments useful in their evaluation of this petition. Please feel free to contact our office if you need further information or if anyone would like to discuss our opinion. I think the only thing that's incomplete is, you know, what the fees are being raised to. I don't know if
I
we
got it right here.
got that. Yeah, see, I didn't get that. Do you have that? Oh, great, thank you. Okay. So the fees are being raised. The vehicle pump tank, the current fee is $30. The proposed fee is $60. The gas meter, the current fee is $10. The proposed fee is $20. And the adjusting, the current fee is $10. The proposed fee is $25. And Mr. Knuth, in a letter dated April 10th, 2017, further explains the increase by saying that these proposed changes reflect the amount of time that each of these tasks takes to perform relative to current economic levels. I've been on the council for 14 years now, and these fees have not risen, I think, in a very long time. So I personally am in favor of granting this petition, and I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Okay. Counselor Frida?
I agree.
Counselor Marchand?
I agree.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
I agree.
Counselor Bedanza?
I'm in favor.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a unanimous.
Unanimous decision, Mr. President, to grant petition 6617.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to grant 66-17. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 66-17, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, 66-17 has been granted. Moving on to 67-17.
Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 67-17, Elizabeth Reese and 10 registered voters. Amend the Leominster zoning ordinance by adding Article 19 entitled Recreational Marijuana Facilities to allow and regulate recreational marijuana facilities within the city. Mr. President, we have a hearing scheduled for May 22nd, 2017 at 6:35 p.m. Accordingly, the recommendation tonight is for further time.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation to give 67-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 67-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, 67-17 has been given further time. Moving on to the City of Leominster's financial report. Mr. Chairman of Finance, are you ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. We have a balance in our stabilization account of $14,440,514.75. That's unchanged since the last meeting. We also have a free cash summary. Free cash was certified at this year at $9,207,654, with all appropriations that have been made or are proposed and pending. Those total $6,322,324. If all of those pass, including the ones on the agenda this evening for the first time, that will leave an amount available for appropriation of $2,885,330.
Okay, so that is the financial report. Is there any questions or comments? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yep, through the chair to the finance chairperson. I don't have anything on the stabilization account. Did you get a separate sheet?
I didn't get one this evening. I just read what I had from the last meeting.
Okay, it hasn't changed, but we didn't get anything from John?
No, we didn't get anything.
Okay,
But it's unchanged since the last meeting.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to items under finance, beginning with C-70. Is the Chairman of Finance ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-70, relative to the appropriation of $20,650 to the Department of Public Works Capital Outlay Expense Account, the same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. This relates to the work being done at the Moosonok Brook project. The city received a grant to install walkways and a pedestrian bridge along with comprehensive landscaping and signage from Center Street to Adams Street along the Moosonok Brook. The cost of the project is $950,000. We're not being required to match that grant of that money, but we are responsible for the utility relocation because it's not covered by the grant, and the amount being sought, $20,650 is for the utility relocation. I would be in favor of this, and I'll check with my committee members.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
You know, I will support this tonight, but what I would like is some detail on what the $20,000 is comprised of. There's nothing except a letter with general information in it. So if you would ask for that, I'd appreciate it.
I would be happy to.
Okay, good.
And Councilor
I
Marchand.
concur with the recommendation.
Okay.
So, Mr. President, the unanimous recommendation is to grant C-70.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-70. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-70, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-70 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, ordered that the sum of $20,650 be appropriated to the Department of Public Works Capital Outlay Expense Account, the same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account, Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-70 has been adopted. Moving on to C-71.
Yes, Mr. President, C-71, relative to the appropriation of $8,000 to the building inspector salary and wages account, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. We do have a letter from the building inspector, but I'm not gonna read it because it contains some medical information. But they have a clerk that's out, and has been for an extended period of time. So they have a substitute employee in there at present, and they're not, they don't have the ability to pay for the substitute employee. So this amount is necessary to cover that expense. So it'd be my position to grant C-71, and I'll check with my committee members.
No, I support that.
Councilor
I agree.
Marchand?
Thank you.
So
Okay.
unanimous recommendation, Mr. President, is to grant C-71.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-71. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-71, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-71 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $8,000 be appropriated to the building inspector's salary and wages account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-71 has been adopted. Moving on to C-72.
C-72, relative to the appropriation of $30,000 to the Highway Department overtime account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. There's a letter from our Director of Public Works, Ray Racine, dated April 18th, 2017, to the Mayor. Department of Public Works requests an appropriation of $30,000 to the Highway overtime account. These funds are needed to put monies back into our Highway overtime account as we are down to $1,300 available. This account has been used this year to accomplish many extra projects and will be used for Saturday trash and brush details by our men. We also need extra funding to facilitate the new LED lighting project. We are installing new ornamental lightings using city's forces. We would be glad to provide additional information or answer any questions that might be needed regarding this request. It'd be my position to support this.
You know, through the chair, I actually do have some questions on this. Can we give this further time? I'd like information on the LED lighting. I don't know anything about that.
That's been before us in the past. They're converting a number of the lights in the city to energy-saving LED lighting.
It's ornamental.
Well, I would imagine that they're installing those lights. I mean, I don't know what the time frame is on this, but,
Okay.
I mean, I'd be happy to get you the backup.
Okay.
I think it deserves that. But I would like to proceed with it if we can.
I'd really like detail on it, to tell you the truth. You know, it's
All right.
$30,000, doesn't sound like a lot of money. It's
No, it's a lot
overtime.
of money.
You know, and it's for a program that I really don't know anything about. So, thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Marchand?
I concur.
You're to grant?
Yep.
Okay. And are you looking to grant Councilor Shalfo Zephyr as well?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm
All
looking
right.
for
We
more
have
information.
a disparate vote,
Yep.
2 to
Okay.
1, the committee.
Okay, so the recommendation, although not unanimous, the recommendation of the Finance Committee is to grant C-72. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-72, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed? So by a vote of 5-3, C-72 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
It requires it requires a 2/3 vote, right?
That's coming out of excess
It's a
and deficiency.
no? Okay. The order that the sum of $30,000 be appropriated to the Highway Department overtime account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
Okay.
Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so by a vote of 5-3, C-72 has been adopted. Moving on to C-73.
I will, Counselor Shalfo Zephyr, get the backup
Thank you.
nonetheless.
Yep, good.
C-73, relative to the appropriation of $2,000 to the City Council expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Apparently, it's been a busy year down here, and this is money necessary for city council advertising related to ordinance changes and zoning amendments, and that would be my position to support this.
Absolutely.
Councilor
Also,
Marchiam?
I concur.
Okay.
Mr. President, unanimous recommendation is to grant C-73.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-73. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-73, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-73 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, order that the sum of $2,000 be appropriated to the city council expense account, same to be transferred from excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-73 has been adopted. Moving on to items under public service. 52-17, is the chairwoman ready to report?
52-17, George Andrews Dyak, et al., except Constitution Drive and Federal Circle as accepted streets. I believe the recommendation will be further time. Do we know if the public hearing yet, Madam Clerk? Do we know? They were having
It
a
was referred
public
to them,
hearing on it.
And they were having
I don't think they did.
I don't think that.
So the recommendation would be further time, and at the end of the meeting, I'm gonna ask that we have, DPW come in, John Roseberry, because these have histories, this one in Dugan Drive. And there's been a lot of discussion over the years on those, and I know there's some history to them, so. So the recommendation would be further time.
Okay. And Councilor Feckley, are you all set with further time?
I agree.
Councilor Dombrowski as well?
Yep.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Public Service Committee to give 52-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Councilor Bedanza?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with further time, but I just want the public to understand, as well as the petitioner, that even if we did vote to accept this road this evening, it's still much work to do to get it to that status. There are no bounds or as-built plans in connection with this particular street. So Copeland and Page would not be in a position to take a conveyance of the land, even if that could be accomplished. So there's, as I said, much work to be done. And this, of course, is overlapping with the committee that the president established with regard to road acceptance in general in the city. This obviously is a significant problem, and I think having the DPW come down, Mr. Roseberry, is an excellent idea, Councilor Frida.
Councilor Frida?
Yeah, to have them come in is certainly no suggestion that this is something we can fix, but I think it's important for some of the newer people on the streets to hear what has been met with resistance over the years and what happened in the 80s when a lot of these properties were built. There's explanations to some of them, and I think people do need to understand where it's at. Even if there were money, the point is, it was referred to the Public Service Committee, whose responsibility it is to look at these. So I think having the DPW come in and possibly the planning department, planning director, because I know she was looking at some of these, and that in Dugan Drive is gonna be the same thing, and unless we have it pretty clear in the beginning, we're gonna have a lot more of these coming in. So, the recommendation again is further time.
Okay, is there any other, Councilor Dombrowski?
Yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing more and more of these, and as they come down, we probably should address what
Right.
security, covenants, bonds, what the planning board required back when the
Individually.
developer were given releases, so that we can make sure that that doesn't happen going forward.
Is there any other discussion? Councilor Marchiam?
The flip side of that are the streets, for example, that were built with no intention to become a city street. I have one of those streets in Ward 5. And from the very beginning of the development, it was clearly stated, identified, and presented during site plan approval that it was not to be an accepted street. It was going to be a glorified driveway. That's it. What happens is now we're into not only the second, but the third generation of people living there, and they had no clue that this was the status, and the road's falling apart, and they need help, but at the same time, we have to clearly identify those for the facts behind that for that neighborhood as well. So it's not just a question of the research that the new subcommittee actually conducts, it's also the planning director informing us how many streets are like that in the city, so we can go back to the constituency and let them know exactly what the situation is.
Is there any other discussion, Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr? You haven't spoke yet.
Right, well, I was going to go through the chair to the Ward 4 councilor, because we will be discussing this, I think, under new business, when we
Yes.
talk about organizing our next meeting and involving the ward councilors in the conversation about unaccepted streets.
That's true.
Okay.
I think that, I just think the history, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Councilor Frida first.
Yeah.
No, I just think those that are coming to us in these streets, it's our responsibility to answer their questions, because a lot of them, that is true, there's a lot of people that have lived there since day one, and there are a lot of people that have moved onto those streets that don't know the history. So it's important to have that addressed, and although there's a committee that can look at the bigger picture, it has to be addressed individually, for the most part. You talk about unaccepted streets, we've had Lake Samoset forever that people think that we can get those streets accepted. It'll never happen. You can't fit a truck. I mean, there are a lot of things that, a lot of extenuating circumstances. So, I mean, I think the Public Service Committee is designed for that. So, I think we have to answer these individually as they come in.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying anything differently. I think probably more directly, I think it's important that we address the history of each street as they come before us, because we take the heat.
Right.
You know, and it's really unfair, because this is stuff that happened long before, either happened or didn't happen, long before. And then citizens come and it gets dumped on us. And sometimes there's things we can do, but oftentimes it's history that we've got to go back and repair. And it takes time. And I just think as these things come before us, it's important that we explain each individual street.
Okay. Councilor Bedanza.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the comments by the councilors at large with respect to, each one of these is its own circumstance and has its own history. However, at the end of the day, the solution to these problems generally come down to money. And, we don't have a line item or an appropriation, and we're not an appropriating authority. But what we can do is we can take a look at the big picture. There's 250 unaccepted streets in the city of Leominster approximately. Of that 250, I think 150 are unimproved. They don't have pavement at all. And there are a whole nother group of streets that were never intended to be accepted, as been pointed out. I think, looking at the list, I'm guessing that at the end of the day, the ones that are causing us as a city problems and their residents, our residents' problems, are probably 20 or 30 streets. And I see, there's been attempts to tackle this monster in the past, but I think we need to create a concerted existing conditions plan, where these streets are, how many people they affect, what the condition of these streets are, so that if the mayor chooses to send money down to address it, that it can be a concerted way to address these in a fair, transparent process, and that's the object of the committee. I don't disagree at the same time that each particular petition and street deserves its own explanation and its own history. But, there's a reluctance, I think, on the part of the chief executive in the past to address one and not others. And we need to find a fair way to proceed so these problems get addressed and remedied. This situation's been kicked around for a long time, and it does raise its ugly head from time to time, and it's time to deal with it, in my opinion.
Councilor Frida.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the Ward 4 councilor, but in some of these cases, and I'm not going to speak to the one particular issue, but there are some that even money isn't going to be able to address. There are some that are not correctable because there were major issues with the as-built plans, major issues with the plan, and the location of the property. The location of the house on the lots. So there's things that aren't correctable. I mean, I've run across a lot of these in appraisals, as you probably have, in the legal position. So there are some that just aren't gonna, so individually, if they come, people need to understand that there is absolutely nothing that we're gonna be able to do to fix that street. If it's something minor, be able to do that. But I think on a collective picture, you know, the financial part that you can put together for it is gonna work. But individually, I think that needs to be addressed. And I think one of the streets in here is gonna have that situation.
Yeah, there's no question that everyone presents a unique set of circumstances, but I think to get them all in one place on a sort of existing conditions, spreadsheet as to what the problems are will be helpful. And at the same time, I think the outgrowth of this process should be, as was mentioned earlier by somebody here, I think, this evening, I think it was Councilor Dombrowski, that we need to let the planning board know that we really need to get, I mean, I know a lot of the residentially developed land is done, in this city, the large subdivisions, but there are smaller subdivisions on the map. And, those can present problems as well. So we need to make sure going forward that we don't add to the problem. We already know that the problem's big enough already.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of giving 52-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, 52-17 has been given further time. Moving on to, we've already done the appointments, so we will move on to the reappointments, and I will refer these to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, reappointments, Office of Emergency Management. Assistant Directors Jim LeBlanc and Richard Govan. Deputy Directors Tom Piper, Dan Thibodeau, and Al Stahl. Auxiliary Officers John J. Karen, Paul Topolowski, Olymps Octavius, Charlie Williams, and Daniel Johnson. Mr. President, we've seen these names on our agenda year after year. They are obviously faithful servants of the Office of Emergency Management, and I will suggest that we grant their reappointments and ask you to poll my committee.
Okay, Councilor Marchand?
I concur.
Councilor Lanciani?
I concur.
Okay, so there's a unanimous recommendation for these reappointments to the Office of Emergency Management. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of reappointing all of these appointees to the Office of Emergency Management, please signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, all of these appointments have been reappointed. Moving on to the Planning Board reappointment.
Yes, Mr. President, reappointment to the Planning Board, Salvatore M. Ciccone, term to expire April 15th, 2022. And I think that all of myself and all of my colleagues know that Mr. Ciccone is a stalwart on the Planning Board, and I would move to grant his reappointment and ask that you poll my committee.
Okay. Councilor Marchand?
I concur, thank you.
Councilor Lanciani?
I concur.
Okay, so it's a unanimous recommendation to reappoint Sal Ciccone to the Planning Board. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving this reappointment confirmation, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, Salvatore Ciccone has been reappointed to the Planning Board. Moving on to items under old business, we have a second reading of an ordinance. Is the Chairman of Legal Affairs ready to report?
Yeah, Mr. President, second reading of an ordinance, amend Chapter 22 of the revised ordinances entitled zoning by inserting a new section, Article 2, Section 22-16.12, entitled Recreational Marijuana Establishment Moratorium. This is Legal Affairs Petition 3917. We had a public hearing earlier this evening on this second reading of the ordinance. The public hearing has been continued to June 12th at 7:00 p.m., so the recommendation would be further time.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Chairman of Legal Affairs to give this second reading further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving the second reading of this ordinance further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 8-0. The second reading of this ordinance has been given further time. Is there any other old business to come before the city council? Councilor Feckley.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to go back to C70. I just want to show my support for the request that Councilor Shalfo Zephyr had for more information on the utility relocation. I just wanted to make note of that. I don't know if this is a fait accompli that we have been given here, or whether this is some work that will be done in the future, but I agree wholeheartedly that we need more information.
Okay. All right.
Just wanted to make that point.
I think that the chairman of finance will get all
Yeah,
that,
I'll get the
get all that
information.
to us.
I mean, that's the one where we're getting almost $1 million
Right,
grant. That's our participation in the project.
Right, and I
But I'll-
appreciate that.
I'll get the backup.
right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any other old business to come before the city council? Under new business, we have 3 first readings of an ordinance. So at this time, I'll refer the first reading of an ordinance to the chairman of legal affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. First reading of an ordinance, amend Chapter 22 of the revised ordinances entitled zoning by inserting a new section 22-104 relative to solar energy installations. The recommendation would be to adopt the first reading of the ordinance. I don't know if we need a hearing date, so we're good?
We already heard all of these.
Okay. So the recommendation is to adopt the first reading of the ordinance.
Okay. Are all the members of legal affairs okay with that? Councilor Marchian?
Oh, go ahead, Paul first.
Councilor Frida, you all set? Councilor Marchian?
Yes.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr? Councilor Bedanza?
I concur.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Councilor Marchian.
The paperwork that I received from Copeland and Page has referencing petition 21, 22, 17, and 23, 17.
Yep.
The petition that I have in front of me, the ordinance actually begins with section 22-104. Is that specifically for all 3 of them, or?
I
Through
believe
the
it's
chair.
for all 3. They're interrelated.
Okay.
She, I think for whatever reason, she felt it was easier to break them
To
down.
just to pull it all together at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So, through the chair,
Sure.
I have one concern in the ordinance. And having experienced what happened up in North Leominster, you know, working with them for almost a year and a half, under the Section 4 general requirements, if we go to letter G, Roman numeral 6, access driveway. If some of you don't have that in front of you, I'll just read it quickly. It says, access driveway width will be a minimum of 20 feet to accommodate emergency vehicles. Access driveway shall consist of a minimum of 12, it says, inches in depth of compacted gravel, Massachusetts Highway Department specifications. And then it goes on to say if the access road is longer than 150 feet, provisions for apparatus to turn around will be provided. My suggestion, to maybe ask the planning board for their response to it, would be to restrict parking on that access road to no parking. And the reason is because this is the very first thing they do under construction. They have to have the access road to get into the property. Yeah, they do a nice job, they cut it, they gravel it, and they park on it. And I have driven on a road in North Leominster where I couldn't get through in my Honda, never mind a fire truck. So what would happen is, we don't want, when it comes down to having appropriate parking for the staffing that's actually engaged in the construction, which can be up to 50 vehicles easily in any given day, especially when the electricians arrive near the end of the project, you don't want them parking on this access road. Because they don't have appropriate parking set aside from day one, this is exactly what happened and what will happen in any particular case, to get the cars off the road. So I'm just concerned, you know, after the project is in full engagement, you know, the contractors are gone, and then you just have maintenance people that are checking in on a regular basis, so it's not an issue. But I believe that, you know, this is an important piece to bring in here, that the access road, there should be no parking on it at all. So that's just my position on it.
Mr. President, may I inquire?
Sure.
Is this something that you want to amend in time for the second reading of the ordinance, or is this something you want to take up after the second reading?
Through the chair, better off to handle it now, so we're not amending it afterwards and having more
Okay.
hearings on it.
Okay,
I'm not sure if the timeline permits us to send the question right to the planning board to get on their agenda to be able to make a recommendation at their next meeting for the next time we see this. Other than that, that's my recommendation, that we amend it. I'm just being respectful to the planning board.
yeah, I think I don't know if we can get something from the planning board, but I think it was really the planning director that was the key behind this. I'm sure we can
Right.
get something from her by the next meeting.
Through
And
the
then-
chair would be fine with that.
And then run it up the flagpole.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else on
Good.
legal
Counsel-
affairs want to chime
Counsel
in? Counsel
Bedanza.
Bedanza?
Yeah, I understand what the Ward 5 council's concern is, but my concern would be where when you construct one of these things, you're gonna have a certain number of people show up and a certain number of cars with them. And where you're gonna put the cars. So if you're in the wrong place, you may be creating another problem somewhere else. So I would like to see the planning board, I think it'd be useful to get their opinion on it.
Okay.
Before we finally enact it, but it's a concern, I understand, but I'm also concerned about the other ramifications.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Just, I have the same kind of question, but through the chair to the Ward 5 counselor. Are you talking about post-construction, no parking on that access road? After it's all
Through the chair,
constructed?
it's a combination,
Okay.
during and after,
Okay, then,
during and after,
okay, then I understand.
yeah.
Through the chair, the Ward 4 council's concerns, yeah.
All right.
I'm not gonna
Okay.
respond to that, we'll let the planning board, I have a response to it, but that's fine, we'll just
Okay.
let it go.
Counselor Dombrowski?
Just from I understand everyone's concerns. Just from a practical matter, I don't think the planning board's meeting till June 5th. So in all likelihood, if we go forward tonight and approve the first reading of the ordinance, we'll probably have to further time the second reading of the. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think there's any time problems here, so we can handle it that way.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay,
So
so,
I guess the recommendation is to adopt the first reading of the ordinance, and we'll get some questions answered.
okay, so at this time, is there any other discussion on adopting or granting the first reading of this ordinance? Okay, we'll do this in a roll call vote then, beginning with Counselor Frida. Counselor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Counselor Feckley.
Yay.
Counselor Bedanza.
Yay.
Counselor Lanciani.
Yay.
Counselor Marchian.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of this ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to the second first reading of an ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. And again, this is related to the preceding first reading. This is also a first reading of an ordinance, amend Chapter 22, Section 22-17 of the revised ordinances entitled zoning by amending energy system renewable in the table of uses and inserting on-site solar system and off-site solar system. Again, the recommendation would be to adopt the first reading of the ordinance with an understanding that we do have some questions to get answered, and the second reading may likely be further timed.
Okay. Counselor Frida, are you all set with that?
I am.
Counselor Marchian?
All set.
Counselor
I
Shalfo
am.
Zephyr, Counselor Bedanza?
I concur.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation to adopt the first reading of this ordinance as well. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Frida.
Yay.
Counselor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Counselor Feckley.
Yay.
Counselor Bedanza.
Yay.
Counselor Lanciani.
Yay.
Counselor Marchian.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of this ordinance has also been adopted. Moving on to the third first reading of an ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First reading of an ordinance, and this is also related to the prior two first readings. Amend Chapter 22, Section 22-4 of the revised ordinances entitled zoning by deleting and replacing the definition for energy system renewable and inserting two new definitions, solar energy system for on-site and solar energy system for off-site. The recommendation, again, is to adopt the first reading of the ordinance. And again, we have some questions to get answered relative to the second reading.
Okay. Counselor Frida, you all set? Counselor Marchian?
Thank you.
Yep, I
Shalfo
am.
Zephyr, Bedanza? Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Counselor Dombrowski?
Yeah, I just again want to commend the planning director. If you guys recall, this was a tremendous amount of work, and she did a very good job with it.
All right, is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will also do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Frida.
Yay.
Counselor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Yay.
Counselor Feckley.
Yay.
Counselor Bedanza.
Yay.
Counselor Lanciani.
Yay.
Counselor Marchian.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of this ordinance has also been adopted. Is there any other new business to come before the city council? Counselor Feckley.
Yes, Mr. President, in reviewing the invoice from KP Law dated April 25th, I do have a question on page 4, underneath North Street project. May I read the description?
Sure.
Draft offer letter to be sent to property owners informing them of amount of compensation offered by city for taking and requesting owners to donate easements to the city instead. Send same to city engineer and Department of Transportation staff. So we have communication from the mayor tonight that was given further time regarding considering acquiring by eminent domain permanent and temporary easements for the North Street project. And what I would like to know, and ask you if you could ask the mayor, if these letters had been sent to the residents of North Street already, so that when we further consider his communication, we have that information.
Okay. So if they've been sent, any responses maybe that have been given as well?
Yeah, I'd like an update on that.
Okay.
I also have a question on page 5, under contracts. Police station design contract, renew all background documents, evaluate whether city may use feasibility designer to perform follow-on design services at a different location that, I think that means then, identified in the request for qualifications. So I have asked, I believe on several occasions, for update on the police station. So I believe that there is some activity going on, and I was wondering if you could also ask the mayor if he could please give us some insight as to the progress he's been making regarding the police station.
Okay. All right, is there
Thank you.
any? Sure. Is there any other Counselor Shalfo-Zephyr?
I'd like to schedule a subcommittee meeting of the Ordinance Review Committee for Tuesday, May 16th at 6 PM.
Works with me.
Okay, all set.
Let's go with Gail. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that will be posted May 16th at 6 PM. Ordinance Review Committee. Is there any other new business? Counselor Frida?
I don't know if you want to take a vote to have the DPW
Sure.
and the planning director come down to talk about a couple of these roads.
Okay. Madam Clerk, how do we probably should try to get this done at the next meeting if possible, because I'm sure June is going to be very busy. Wow. We can just come early.
6 o'clock.
Want to do 6 o'clock on the 22nd?
Yeah, I don't think,
Okay.
they know what specific roads we're talking about. It shouldn't take them long to get the information together.
Okay. So, DPW and
DPW and
planning?
Kristen Kelly. And probably Mr. Souza, if he's available, he's one of the longest-serving ones that would remember the issue.
Okay. All right, so at this time, I'll ask that we take a vote to bring the DPW, do you want to bring the director down and have him bring whoever he wants, John Roseberry, and Kristen Kelly, as well as John Souza? That good? Okay, so all those in favor of bringing those individuals down, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0. They will be brought down here on May 22nd at 6 PM. Is there any other new, Counselor Bedanza?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to schedule a meeting of the presidents special committee on street acceptance for Tuesday, May 16th at 5 o'clock.
Okay. All right, so
And
that
at
meeting,
the same time, I would also like to urge, especially ward councilors, to look at the list of unaccepted streets that are in their ward with respect to their critical nature of what streets in their ward deserve attention.
okay. All right, so that will be posted for May 16th at 5 PM. Is there any other new business? Counselor Frida?
Not really new business, but I'm sure we all have gotten letters from David Wyckoff on 25 Houghton Court. And it seems like they've been pretty professional and pretty respectful in their communications. And I just wonder if we can try to get an answer, just a summary of what actually happened with the complaint that they had with the next door neighbor. I mean, they asked for zoning enforcement and didn't get anywhere, but they went to the higher level and DPW found that there were violations there. I don't know about anybody else, but I know I suggested that they call the mayor's office and call the Board of Health and call the building inspector. And it's kind of unfortunate they have to go to a state agency to get the enforcement done. And just kind of get a summary as to what happened.
Okay. So who are you looking for a summary from specifically?
Well, the building inspector would be the zoning enforcement officer.
Through the chair, if you have an hour, I can share it all with you.
I've talked to them.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, could you maybe? Oh, okay.
I don't know if they have to come down. Just if they can
Right.
put some type of a summary together, just kind of explain how it got to where it got and.
So do you want to maybe send a letter to the city clerk and she can forward it to the building
Well,
inspector and
here's
ask
the-
what he has on file, on record? What's that? Oh,
I mean,
oh,
I
right.
can, I
Right.
can call the building inspector myself and ask him. I just thought the council would want to be brought up to speed on what happened. I think we all got letters from them.
Okay,
I'll call.
okay. Counselor Schaffner,
If anybody else wants to
Yep.
call, they can call.
Thank you. With respect to the Wyckoffs, they did go through a very lengthy process. They appealed to the ZBA. The ZBA ruled in their favor and against the building inspector. It was really pretty clear. The DEP has also weighed in, and the DEP has sided with the Wyckoffs as well. So my understanding is that they had an opportunity to appeal. I don't know if they will. I took a ride by there, and the dumpster was gone, which was the primary complaint. So I think the finding was basically that the business was in fact running a transfer station and, sided with the neighborhood. So the ZBA, if we wanted to get an official, response, I guess the ZBA would be the best place to go, to get a copy of what they're finding, what the written finding is. I mean, at the meeting they held for, the neighborhood and the Wyckoff specifically, but the ZBA would be issuing, I think, something written, and that would be helpful.
Right. Yeah. Counselor Frida?
Yeah, through the chair.
I just want to caution getting into, real discussion about this. It's not on the agenda, so.
Not getting into a discussion, I want to clarify what my point was, is why they weren't getting any help in the process.
Right.
And I understand it went to the ZBA, but if there's a zoning violation, there should be a building inspector who's a zoning enforcement officer, be able to look at that and try to help.
Right.
And maybe there's a really good reason why he didn't find it to be a violation, and I guess that's what I'd like to hear them
Right.
say.
One would think there's got to be a public report that he's had to have written. It's freedom of information. Counselor Schaffner-Zephyr?
I contacted the building inspector because I wanted a copy of his correspondence, back and forth. And I do have a copy of that. I can provide it to the city clerk, a copy of Mr. Niles' letter to the Wyckoffs and then to the ZBA. So I can provide that to you, and then you can get copies for everybody.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. Okay, is there any other new business? Anything under the community calendar? I have one thing real quick. It's the 16th Annual Sholin Farms Apple Blossom Festival and Craft Fair, May 20th, 2017, 10 to 4 p.m. with a rain date of May 21st, 2017. Same as every year, it's going to be music, live entertainment, all kinds of things. It's going to be over 50 crafters, a butterfly release at 2:30, Native American Indian crafts and display, free wagon rides, so many other things, as well as Fallbrook songbirds, magic shows, and all those sorts of things. So it goes on every year, and everybody looks forward to that.
I do.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, do you have something as well?
I do for the community calendar. You know, it's hard to believe, but it's been 10 years since the library addition was done, the addition and the renovation. So this year, there are a couple of things. The annual Feldman Children's Room annual celebration is being held on Sunday, May 21st. That starts at 1:30. And this year, it's always a really big event. It's always lots of fun. There's lots of entertainment, you know, for children, obviously, but then there's some fun things for you know, grown-ups and teenagers as well. So that starts at 1:30. And then on June 10th, in the evening, starting at 6 o'clock, the library is celebrating its 10th anniversary in the new building, in the new renovated building. I'm looking at Councilor Bedanza over there because we go way back on the building committee and, you know, we're there when it was opened. And it's just, I can't believe 10 years have gone by. But that should be a really nice celebration, and that's on June 10th at 6 o'clock at the library.
Okay. Is there anything else under the community calendar? No? Seeing none, at this time, I think I will ask for a motion and a second for adjournment. And all those in favor? Okay, so the meeting for May 8th, 2017 is now adjourned. Thank you all very much.